It's Monday, and since last Monday, in just a week, more than 630,000 people tested positive for COVID, and almost 4,000 Americans died from it. And that's to say nothing of those who may be stuck with long COVID. Whether we like it or not, the pandemic is still with us. 4,000 dead in a week almost? Come on. But if you look at how the US government is approaching it, you'd think we might be past it. Beginning September the 2nd, free tests are no longer going to be available. So if you want to have some test kits at home from the government, you should order them right now. But it's not just tests. The Wall Street Journal reported that the Biden administration is actually planning to stop paying for COVID-19 vaccines and treatments too, including antiviral drugs. The plan would be shifting more control of pricing and coverage to the healthcare industry in ways that could generate sales for companies, we're talking in the billions of dollars, and costs for consumers for years to come. Basically, the government won't be buying tests, vaccines or treatments from the manufacturers to then offer to us for free. Americans will have to start footing the bills directly. We say this a lot on the show, but it didn't have to be this way. Not right now, at least. The reason this is happening is because federal COVID funding is starting to run out. Back in February, when Omicron was still surging, the administration asked Congress for $30 billion in funding to, quote, stay ahead of the virus. But you know how this goes. Republicans, many of whom still deny the science of and the threat from COVID, never supported that funding. And Dems haven't pushed that hard to get it done because they're focused on midterms and touting their pandemic successes. So here we are, underfunded and unable to properly continue fighting this deadly pandemic-causing virus. Joining me now to discuss this is Dr. Saira Madad. She's an infectious disease epidemiologist at the Harvard Belfer Center for Science and International Affairs. Dr. Madad, thanks so much for coming back on the show. What are your thoughts on this latest news that the government is no longer going to be sending free test kits to people by the end of this week? Is that going to have a big impact?
Well, absolutely. I think it's unfortunate that we're in a period of the pandemic where we feel as if we no longer have to provide free tests to Americans. We know that, over 600 million kits have been distributed, which means people are using it. And we are still in the middle of a pandemic, even though we're in a different state of the pandemic and things have changed at the same time. The core fundamentals of offering testing, vaccines, therapeutics to Americans, certainly those that are most at risk, is really, really essential. So, I think what this is going to do is it's going to, put us in a position where we're underprepared. And as we look at this COVID-19 pandemic, one of the things we know is that these variants are going to continue to arise. And so what I'm also most concerned about is that we're probably going to be very underprepared for the next variant that's going to take hold around the world. And we're going to, again, play this game of catch up again.
Yeah, and I should add that funding for international vaccination efforts will also go down from the American side as well, depressingly. Dr. Madad, Larry Levitt, Executive Vice President for Health Policy at the Kaiser Family Foundation, he told the Wall Street Journal, and I quote, "Without the government purchasing vaccine doses in advance, the U.S. may fall behind other countries in getting quick access to boosters and new variant-specific vaccines." We just saw the Inflation Reduction Act get passed, which will let the government negotiate prices for up to 10 high-cost drugs by 2026. But it's not going to apply to COVID drugs, is it? Like Paxlovid, for example, the antiviral drug. That seems mad to me, the timing of this.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, these are fundamental tools that we need, and we need to make sure that Americans have it. We have 30 million Americans that don't have any insurance. We have millions more that are underinsured. And so when we talk about access and equity, that's all unfortunately going to go down the drain when we talk about the current steps that are being taken. I think it's just very unfortunate. I will say that when we talk about vaccines in particular, we have a pathetic rate of, booster doses administered in the United States. If we compare it to other countries, that are similar to ours, we are in the, basically in the 70th percentile, if you will. So large majority of Americans, over 50%, do not even have a booster dose. So we need to do more with not just the tools that we have, but to build trust in the tools and make sure people have access and they feel safe of taking these types of, vaccines, therapeutics, and the like.
So you mentioned the boosters and the US's terrible booster rate. Only around 30% of Americans have received a single booster shot. And now there's a new booster coming out, we're told, designed to target Omicron variants better. How effective can a vaccine be if we don't have the money to distribute boosters, if we don't make them widely accessible, if we don't have the funds to campaign around it to persuade people to get boosted?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And it's not just about having a vaccine, it's turning vaccines into vaccinations. If you don't have funding to get to that last mile, then we're just going to essentially go flat-footed again. And that's, just a very unfortunate circumstance. Again, the one thing that, I will add when we talk about these, new booster doses that are going to be made available in the coming weeks, it's certainly long overdue. The current doses, the current vaccines that we have were made against the ancestral strain. So it's good that we're having updated booster doses come this fall for Americans. But at the same time, we cannot boost our way out of this pandemic. And this is where we need to make sure that we are forward thinking, we're being proactive, and that we really invest in next generation vaccines that are going to provide much better immunity against infection, not just against severe illness. We really need to make sure we're moving through that paradigm, because that's really essential right now.
You mentioned we can't boost our way out of this. Can we even vaccinate our way out of this? I've seen this phrase being bandied about, that liberals are now engaged in vaccine absolutism. This idea that get vaccinated and then live your life normally. No need to worry about anything else. Forget about indoor masking. Forget about social distancing. Forget about all other mitigation measures. You have the vaccine, you're good to go. Is that enough?
Yeah, no, not at all. I think what we have learned, certainly in this current phase of this pandemic, is that just being vaccinated is not enough to protect you against infection. And, majority of the infections that are happening these days are reinfections, knowing that about 80% of the American population has been infected with the coronavirus since the beginning of this pandemic, certainly because of the Omicron dynasty that has taken over here in the United States. And so it's very, we're in a position where more people are getting infected. We really need to make sure that we're doing more to ensure people do not get infected, because that also has repercussions long-term, like long COVID. Millions of people are suffering from long COVID, and that's not something to take lightly. So I think it's just really important that we phrase the current phase of the pandemic that we're in appropriately. Yes, we have resources available, but we need to make sure they're accessible to everybody. We need to continue to fund the pandemic, in a way that we have been doing over the past couple of years.
And on that note, one last question. We know the Republicans have never taken this virus seriously. They oppose new federal funding for it. But how much do you worry that Democrats are so obsessed with kind of touting a victory on the pandemic, showing what they've done well, midterms coming up, wanting to have a kind of back to normal feel? How worried are you that there is this sense of let's just move on, when you talk to people in the administration, when you hear from people in administration speaking publicly? Do you get that sense that we just want this behind us?
Oh, absolutely. I think everybody wants this pandemic behind us. Everyone's trying to paint a rosy picture here. But the unfortunate truth is, as you've mentioned, Mandy, we still have 400 people dying in this country every single day from COVID-19. COVID-19 is still the fourth leading cause of death here in the United States. So while we're maybe in a better position with this pandemic, we're certainly not out of the woods. And we certainly need to make sure that both Republicans and Democrats, both come together to make sure that they understand that this is still a worldwide problem, along with all the litany of other diseases that we're facing. Obviously, monkeypox is one, polio here, for example, in New York is another. So we really need to make sure that we are doubling down on our efforts to prevent these outbreaks from happening and to fund them, as they are obviously happening right now appropriately.